Okay, this is another episode of Reflections, and for this one, I am joined by Perkz, Croatian player, mid laner, G2 player. These are facts that people perhaps know about you. I want to ask you this, Perkz, okay? Because in the last I realise with actually your generation coming up and coming into EU LCS, we actually haven't kind of been overrun by good mid laners, but you were still part of that, what I almost call like the factory in Europe, where every year a couple of new mid laners come up, and you know a couple of them are going to become good, and usually they become some of the best players. So in your case, like a lot of those players, the interesting part about it isn't that these players were all amazing and that they were all just sat in Challenger and everyone knew about them. And, you know, if I had to talk to SKT or Froggen or whoever was the top mid laner back then, they'd be like, oh, these guys in solo queue will be the next guys to, you know, beat me or replace me. But you were all around, you know, you were all out there playing in some sort of, I mean, kind of the Challenger circuit before we really had it properly, or you were playing those small third-party tournaments. Admittedly, a lot of you were very young. So it's not as though you all just appeared out of nowhere, like you see sometimes with some of the NA pros that make it in the modern day. You know, they just actually were only playing 6 months before they were in college or something. So Perkz was playing back when Froggen and all those guys were at their peak. He was just 14 years old. He's 15 years old. He's going to some of these small tournaments. You've been playing League of Legends a long time, right?
Yeah, I think I played since season 2. But I didn't play ranked for the first season, I think. Then it's at season 3, I hit Diamond 1. And then I was really playing against pros, and then when I would meet pros on my low Diamond 1 account, I would be super excited. And then season 4 was actually when I hit Challenger. That's when I hit top 10. That's when I was consistently on high elo. And it's how I started playing against all the good players in solo queue, Nuke, Froggen. I don't know if Bjergsen was really insanely good in solo queue back then and stuff. So that is, I guess, when I started to becoming good. But I guess in season 5 was when I got good. Okay. And that's when I played on my challenges team with G2. Yes. I played on some challenges series, some challenger teams before that, but it's it wasn't anything serious, or it was just to play in a team, you know. Sure. And then we played G2 Challenger series with Gilius, Hiva, Smithy J, and Jesse the AD carry. And we were actually pretty good, but we had some some team problems, some misunderstandings here and there. So we had to get some players replaced. So we changed jungler first, and we got Maxler, and there was some problems again. So we had to change Maxler for Kikis, and Kikis was kind of insanely good back then, you know. So he was boosting us in Challenger series. And we also changed the support with Hybrid, and then we got to LCS by beating SK Gaming. But yeah, back to the point is I was not. I really liked playing against those big names, you know, because it could I guess I could measure my own skill to them and see how much more I have to go, etc. So.
Okay. Yeah. When you used to play and you were a 14 or 15-year-old lad from Croatia, probably didn't have fantastic English at the time, still obviously didn't really necessarily understand esports because you're just playing League of Legends, you're just on the ladder, you know, but you're getting to play against really good players. Perkz, did you used to talk a lot of shit? Did you used to flame people? Did you sort of type if you beat them and stuff?
I mean, I never actually wrote that I was gonna beat someone at LAN. There was actually that was before I was on team with Gilius. Yeah. He was telling me we'll see you at LAN, you know, because I was talking a lot in solo queue. Okay. And then we saw each other in LAN, and I shook his hand and she shook my hand, and he just smiled, and nothing happened, obviously, you know. Just the esports, okay. I'm gonna see you at LAN, bro, you know. And but yeah, I used to be pretty, I guess, whiny and annoying in solo queue. Maybe I still am sometimes, very, very rarely, but it's back in the days, 3 years ago, a lot of us European pro players, we had to learn how to behave ourselves, you know, in solo queue and etc. So yeah, okay. I was part of all of that too.
Because when I went and I looked at those tournaments I was talking about, you even went to a DreamHack, one of the ones that NIP won after, sadly, our boys Nuka and Mithy had been temporarily banned. You went to the one that they won, where you were just in the group stage. Was it when you first started to play these tournaments? You said like you made it sound before like you weren't trying to go pro at the time. You were probably trying to go pro, right? You just weren't in a good team yet.
I mean, I actually haven't thought about going pro. You know, like at that time I was I was just doing high school, and it was just all these tournaments I was doing was during the summer break, you know, summer vacation. And I just liked, I guess, League of Legends. I liked competition, but like I wasn't very good back then, you know. So like we got really, I mean, we were bad team too, so we got smashed like in DreamHack and stuff. But I cared because I don't like losing, but it's like I didn't think there was gonna be a professional career ahead of me back then, you know. And then it was like mostly when we started winning with G2 in Challenger Series, like 2015. It's when I started thinking that I could potentially be a pro gamer. So yeah, it's not really like a known phenomenon in Croatia or even like anywhere around that part of Europe, you know.
Yes.
It's like it's just starting to get slowly bigger and bigger and bigger, like all over the world, you know. So yeah.
Sure. Oh, I mean, listen, I'm very well aware, especially because in CS:GO, a friend of mine is the guy who's an analyst, is Jankos from Serbia, and obviously we actually have one very good player from that region, which is Nico from Bosnia. Yeah. Well, I actually know that again, this region, it's not very saturated for esports. You know, like the idea of coming up with a team from that region is kind of ridiculous. That's why Nico doesn't play in a team from Bosnia. He plays for a multinational squad. You know, so. When you were in the challenger scene, as you said, you joined. Technically, it wasn't actually G2 at the time. It was still called Gamers 2. That was before they did the rebrand, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because I've always thought, I don't know whether he did this purposely, but I've always thought the rebrand to G2 was actually very smart. Because first of all, it means that if anyone ever goes and Googles now, just G2 Esports, they're not going to find the stuff about Gamers 2 necessarily, which was obviously not a great period in their history. And secondly, when I think of Gamers 2, I think of Ocelot, as in Ocelot playing, because Ocelot used to always be the mid laner, obviously, and that was kind of the whole point of the project, was Ocelot trying to make it back into LCS, but with his own team, and he had a lot of different players back then, and obviously each time it didn't work when he was the mid laner, right? When you come to join this organization, was there anything significant about Ocelot basically letting you be the mid laner, just becoming the owner of the team and no longer playing, etc.? Did you have any reservations about joining his team? Because as I kind of alluded to then, one of the hallmarks of the team was not only did they not qualify for LCS from Challenger, but they used to actually have some pretty good players who later on went on to be LCS. So a lot of people wondered, like, are they just not good at recruiting? You know, is it just not a good org? Did you have any reservations when you joined?
Well, first when I joined, actually, like in springs, like it was like in this in January in 2015, like we joined with I just replaced Carlos, like after they lost the qualifier, I think, or something, like they lost some qualifier to LCS, which was like expansion tournament. Yeah, okay. They lost expansion tournament, and then I joined after it, and I was pretty excited, obviously, because like replacing someone who just retires is like kind of a big deal. But like I was really confident in myself, like. At that time, like in season 5, I thought I was really, really good. And then I joined, and then we changed some players again because there was like some work ethics problems and stuff, like in the only span of 3 weeks. And then we lost actually to the Gilius team, which was Nivo back then. They beat us 2-1 in the qualifier, and then we didn't qualify for Challenger Series. And that was like kind of tough, you know. That was like my first tough loss, you know. It was like I couldn't believe we just lost, you know, and to Gilius especially, you know. Like we had like a thing with Gilius back then, you know. And after that, so Carlos then bought that team, like bought the spot, you know. Yeah. And then after that they also like lost, and then that's when I got on the team. So I guess that's. I actually forgot what was the question now. What was the original question? Like,
you know, obviously you replaced Ocelot, but also, you know, he didn't look like he'd done a great job of managing the org before then. Because even though he recruited all these players, the good ones either just left and went into LCS, or, you know, it seemed like he never put the right team around himself. Yeah. So I just wondered if you're replacing him, sure, that means he's not playing, but you want your person who owns the team to do a good job of putting players around you, right?
I mean, I think since I got on the team, Carlos has done the best possible roster moves for me. And everything that I needed to succeed has been provided by him. So I'm really happy with my career on G2. I couldn't be more happy. I mean, you can always be more happy or less happy. But
when you joined the team, right? Here's an interesting detail you might not be aware of, right? Back in the day when Ocelot was building his name in League of Legends, when he was on SK Gaming, famously, he was the player on that team as well. Like, even when he was no longer necessarily the best player on the team, I actually know that the way SK Gaming, the org used to work, was that the guy who owned SK Gaming and ran SK Gaming used to sort of like, he doesn't have time to like, he's not an analyst, he doesn't study every part of the game. So what he would do was, in each game, he would kind of pick someone who was like the team captain for each of his team games, and he would just kind of be like, right, I'm just going to trust that this guy knows what he's talking about. So in the case of Ocelot, he kind of picked Ocelot because he was obviously the big star name, and so that meant that, there was times in SK Gaming where Ocelot, directly sort of got to choose the transfers, or he had to, the team was always going to be rebuilt around him necessarily, right? Has Ocelot tried to establish this relationship with you?
I mean, for sure. Actually, like I remember a moment 3 years ago when like Carlos was telling me on Skype something like, "I'm gonna make you a star," like you're gonna be so fucking good and stuff, and like I was like, yeah, sure, man. I thought it was like just a pep talk, okay. Because he's a very charismatic person,
Yeah.
So I thought that it was just like, yeah, sure, he's just hyping me up, like for the Challenger Series team, and then it turns out that we really did like some good things, in the end.
Sure.
So
yeah. as you referenced before, you came into LCS with this lineup that was basically very different. Like, it was you, and then obviously, yeah, you had Kickers, but he wasn't even playing top lane at the time. He was a jungler, because obviously he'd come from when he used to be in Unicorns of Lava. He was still a jungler at this point in time. And you had a few other names that people will remember, like Smithy J, like you said. But you had a very different lineup to the one that made it into LCS. And so what people might forget, because obviously you guys won LCS straight away, is that this totally different lineup almost didn't even make it in. You had a really close series against the SK Gaming lineup, right? That was basically almost dead. Like, it basically just disbanded after that split.
Yeah.
Was it close to not making it in?
Well, it was. I mean, actually, like, I know that I had some offers ready for me. After the.
So you were going to make it in no matter what.
So I was gonna be in LCS on a very, very good team. I don't know if I'm still like, I'm really not sure if I'm allowed to even say this right now, like, since it's 3 years ago. No, I mean, I was gonna be an Origin.
Okay.
But like, I will check with you like after this interview, obviously, if I'm allowed to say that, okay? But yeah, if I was gonna be an Origin, I was actually like really excited to be an Origin.
Doesn't part of you just almost rather have gone to Origin at that point in time, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure, yeah. It was like, I thought like seriously, I thought like Sven was insanely good. Like, I thought he was like the best AD in the world. So I really wanted to play with Sven after playing with Jesse's AD. I'm joking. Jesse's was like a good AD too, but obviously Sven was like insanely good. And then like there were some complications. I'm not gonna go into details, like, obviously. And I ended up on G2 with the new lineup.
Yes.
And I didn't know what to expect because we had like completely new lineup, And I mean, I was really confident in myself, but then like I was spamming solo queue like, I don't know, like since morning to the evening every single day. I didn't even leave my house. I don't know, I was really like not lifing it on solo queue. And then like I was really confident I was gonna like shit on everyone on LCS, and we got a new team. And then like holy shit, like that was like oof, like Trick was so fucking good. Like it was crazy, man. Like he was just shitting on every jungler. Like it was like Graves, Nidalee, Kinder meta, and he was like we just like we were so much better than them than anyone back then because we were just I don't know, I guess naturally gifted, or I don't know how to even say it, because like when you look like, because when I compare us, because when I compare us to like now obviously we were so much better than before, but before like we didn't know actually like what, I mean, like we knew some of the stuff we were doing, but we didn't know everything what we were doing. Like we didn't have plan for everything, and like we were like so much less behind in terms of macro and everything than we were, like 1 year, like a couple of months ago, but we were just a lot better like by playing by instincts, and then also like our bot lane was not bad, and Kikis was surprisingly good top too. Like I think Kikis in playoffs was like the best top in Europe, and it was honestly, it's like kind of a miracle they won the split. or that's at least how I see it, because we didn't even like, of course, like we worked hard, but like we didn't like really work so much, you know. And we are like, when I compared, I think the split was like kind of like a joke split, you know, like when you compare it to like I think 2016 was kind of a joke year anyways, you know, when you compare it to 2017. So yeah, I think it was kind of a miracle that we won the split. But after that we got Sven and Mitty. It was mostly because I really wanted to play with Sven. Like back then, I actually like, I didn't have like high thoughts of Mitty. Like when I was watching Mitty play Spring Split 16, sorry, I thought he was like really elo boosted. Like I thought that Sven was like 1v9 on the team, and like Mitty was kind of inting like most of the games. But that was not the fact. I mean, that was just like outsider perspective, you know. Sure. And then like I got really surprised with like how smart Mitty was and like how good he was actually, you know. Like I didn't have too high opinion of him back then, but that was just because I haven't like talked to him or like spent time with him. I haven't really known him, you know. Like I known him only for solo queue a little bit, you know. So yeah.
Right, when you made the LCS, and as you said, they brought in the two Koreans. They brought in Trick, who had played over in Korea when he was on CJ, and then funnily enough, Emperor also was on CJ, but years before that, and had been off in, first of all, Brazil, and then he was on that Team Dragon Knights in LCS. Right, neither of these players came with like massive hype. Like Emperor, okay, I mean, he didn't get to play many games in any LCS, but he seemed all right, you know?
Yeah.
But had been stuck in Brazil, and then the Trick one is like, he was like okay in Korea, maybe, but then again, he wasn't on a great team, right? I know a lot of Europeans back then. Not many players had actually been properly imported to Europe. It like wasn't a big thing at that point in time. It was still mainly all European teams. You know, was there not any? Yeah, were you not resistant at all to bringing in Koreans?
Actually, I think that season 6, like Spring Split, is like when people started to import in Koreans, like on almost every team. Yeah. But yeah, before that, yeah, there haven't been many Koreans. But the thing was like, we couldn't really get any. Let's say like top tier players from Europe. We just couldn't get someone who was like really good, you know. And there was like, I don't know, we were like scouting people in Korea, and like we were like asking, of course, for advices and stuff, you know. And then people just suggested us to take that. And it was kind of like a coin flip, you know. I mean, obviously, it's always a coin flip when you take two Koreans. And
sure.
We decided to go for the coin flip. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, just go for it. And then it turned out really well. But yeah, like as I said, like I still think of it kind of as like a miracle, you know. Like I would never expect myself to win that first split.
Okay, so in the first split, right? Obviously, in the final you played Origin, and therefore, you know, the whole storyline of Sven and Mithy going over was very significant. But people might forget, your main rival in the first split was H2K. They had their own good lineup, and definitely in the like regular portion, they looked like it was going to be you and them in the final, and then, you know, we'd see who would win the championship. And classically, in H2K fashion, they got to the semi-finals, they got to a game 5, and we know what happens when that happens.
There's how we are now.
Yeah, there we go, the traditional way of getting eliminated, right?
Yeah.
What did you think of that H2K lineup?
Oh, well, I think that the H2K lineup was like super good. I really thought that, I mean, like I thought they were going to win the whole thing, like since the beginning. Like every time we played against them, it was like so hard to play, you know? It was like, they knew what they were doing, you know, like, and Ryu back then was like a super good mid laner. Like maybe his mechanics, like maybe his mechanics were not like the greatest, like on lane or something. Like I was for sure better on lane than him back then, but he was a lot better than me, like playing the map, playing the silent pressure, like just he was putting a lot of pressure on the map. Like no matter when he was playing, like he was playing silent champs like Fizz, Lissandra or something. Like he was just really good player, you know. And also, like, not to mention, like Forgiven and Wonder were like really good bot lane, and I don't know, Jankos Odo were fucking good too. Like they just had like a really stacked lineup. And I remember like when we were screaming them before playoffs, like because we were on the different side of the bracket, so we were screaming them for 1 week straight. And the first day, we went 0-6. Like they shit on us so hard, but it was because they were actually like back then they were just also a lot better macro than other teams. Like at least like in scrims when you scream them, like they were very good in lane subs. Like
Okay.
They had smart. I mean, obviously they had like experienced players like in Ryu, Odo, Jankos, etc. Like, I mean, actually, they had probably too, which like I heard was like helped them a lot with the macro back then. And we went like 0-6 the first day, and then like 1-5 the second day, and then like 3-3 the third day, and like 4-1 the fourth day, and then like 5 and then like 4-0 the next day, and then they canceled the last two games. That was when we knew like H2K is doomed, you know, because we were actually like improving every day, like we were learning by them. Like we were just copying whatever they were doing basically, and then like we had like this chaotic style, how you want to call it, you know, which was like actually pretty good for EU LCS because it was like surprising, you know. It's like it's a little bit, it can remind a little bit of Fnatic style, you know, like the last year, you know, the Animal style. Like it's like it surprises you because like we were just forcing random fights, like we were not playing for anything. Like we were just like looking to fight people, you know, like basically see hero, kill hero, and like Kikis was super good at like being proactive and like being the engager, and like honestly, like I think Kikis was like kind of carrying us, you know, a little bit with his engages, you know. But yeah, and Trick and me were like carrying by being very good, you know. And Kikis was like Kikis was like so important for us, I think. Like he was like the engage rogue, you know. Okay. He would do like a lot of engages. I mean, we would do it too, but since he was a top laner, you know, it was like mostly up to him to TP and stuff. But then like we had to like learn to also like not over chase and stuff, you know. Like we were learning some stuff, you know, but it wasn't as progressed as it was like, let's say, during the last year, you know. Like obviously we were a lot behind compared to then.
Were that H2K lineup, were they kind of chokers, do you think?
I'm not sure if they were chokers because I don't remember like how people played like in the series, but there was like something mental for sure, you know, like some mental problem, like maybe like, I don't know, hating each other in the team or like not being efficient in practice, like not being open with their problems, you know. Like it's very important that you're open with your problems in the team and not like hold stuff inside, because no matter how good you are, like if you have a problem, like it's gonna affect you like subconsciously, and it's also like gonna make you like not trust your teammates or not believe them, and just gonna make a worse mood, which makes you play worse in the end, you know. So I don't know what was the fault of that H2K lineup back then. I don't know. They lost to Origin, right? 3-2. Yeah, they lost 3-2. Yeah, and it was a pretty close series. And I don't know, actually. Like there was maybe like some small mistakes individually, you know, from players, which you can like point out. I remember like people were flaming like Odamna and Jankos, no, for that year. I don't know, or I don't know what happened.
The next one, but okay, yeah.
I don't know, but you can never blame a player anyways. Like it's never one player that lost the game or the series or whatever. Maybe he was underperforming a little bit, but in team it's like it's very important that if a player is underperforming, that the rest of the team can pick it up and that you have enough ground basics that you're actually able to win the game even if someone is like underperforming, you know, because underperforming should not really matter, you know. You can like see, for example, Samsung and Worlds, like like everyone can see that Crown was not the best performer on the team, you know, and it still doesn't matter because the rest of the team, like they picked up as a team, you know. It doesn't matter. I mean, he had some good games too, you know, but like he wasn't the shine star on the team, you know.
Sure.
So you don't have to be like the star, or you don't have to always play very well. You just have to play very well as a team always, you know. And that's what's important because like I had a lot of bad games this year too, you know, but we just pick it up as a team. So yeah.
Sure. Well, along those lines, I mean, I've referenced this on I think it might have been Somebody Insight, first of all, where you once tried to flame me on Twitter because I implied that Shiye from Team WE
I remember.
was the star. Okay, so here's the question, okay? It's not about that tweet, but my point was, because he was popping off at IEM, I said that he was the star player, right? And then you implied no, because he had Spirit as his jungler, if you remember, he was still a very good player. You were like, no, it's obvious that the junglers carry him, right? Well, in your first split, Perkz, you won the split, but the MVP was Trick, your jungler. What does that mean?
I mean, like, there was like pure getting robbed. Like,
you should have been you.
That was like the biggest like steal of the year. Like, they just like they were gonna give me the trophy. Then Trick came in and like took the trophy.
Okay, fair enough.
But I remember the tweet. Like, it was like 4 years ago, something at IM 2014 or something. Like, I don't know which year it was, but it was like. It was really funny because I remember that tweet, like, and I was watching him play, and I was thinking to myself, like, even back then I was thinking to myself, like, fuck, I could have played this, like, I would have played this better, you know, like, if I was playing this team fight, like, I would have done so much better, you know.
Okay.
And then, like, I was tweeting because, like, obviously, like, I was a little kid, you know,
sure.
And I was like, no, man, you're wrong. This guy is like fucking bad, you know. I mean, he wasn't fucking bad. I was obviously over exaggerating, you know. But I was sure I could do better, you know. So yeah, I saw your tweet after the MSI semifinals, and yeah, I really laughed actually.
Okay. Right. So when you won this split, right? Did that seem reasonable? I mean, when you have your first ever LCS split, there's plenty of players who are good players who come into LCS and maybe they're on an okay team or maybe you have an all right run. So just win the split outright. What does that do? What's the significance?
Okay, so first of all, that was a huge ego boost for me. Like, holy fuck, like that was over the roof. Like, because I had really consistently good performances. And then also it was assassin meta, so it was like just a huge ego boost, you know. And I really thought that, like from myself personally, like I thought like I was like the best, you know. Like I just won my first split, and then we went to MSI, and we lost. But like I did not. I mean, I cared, but like I knew there was a lot more to why we lost than our play or something. You know, this is like. Like sure. This was just like pure like breakdown, you know, and so I cared that we lost because I don't want to lose, you know. I really hate losing, but it was like this was like the least point in my career that I actually cared that we lost because like I knew like there was a lot more to it, you know. But then at summer split, you could say that it kind of like got to me because I got complacent. Like I was not really taking solo queue seriously, and. Like I was thinking like I was a lot better than anyone else, so I can just like outplay them all, you know. I guess like kind of like Cops 2017, like he was also like doing a lot of like random stuff in the beginning at least of the year.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just like I had to like really like ground myself, you know. And I guess that I learned from that. Like that was like my learning point, you know, like to never get complacent again because it was like. It was not good for me, you know, as a player. And I mean, also like I was very young. I mean, only 2 years ago, but still I was like very not mature. So yeah, I guess I matured a lot from that too. Like after, like not only from winning the split, but like from having the downfall, you know, and the upfall. I mean, it's like we won again, you know, but we lost at Worlds, and the Worlds was like the downfall, you know. Like the Worlds was like when it like that's when you could feel like my mental breaking down, and like I was actually like a lot better than what I showed at Worlds, you know.
Okay.
That was just like pure choking, you know.
Right. So when you at this MSI, where obviously it spawned the infamous 2-8 meme of G2 because you only beat the supermassive team, you lost to everyone else. Right. One of the storylines of that tournament was that you'd done this interview when you went 0-2, where you were like, oh, we were on vacation and, you know, all the Koreans decided to stay in Korea and all. But we know now that was bullshit because actually you already knew that this bot lane was coming over from Origin. And obviously maybe you couldn't say public at that point in time because, you know, the tournament was still going on. You can't just be like, well, they're kicked out anyway, you know. But behind the scenes, people know that wasn't really the way it was actually. That wasn't necessarily what you really thought. Like, even if they did stay in Korea, there was a reason why. It's not like they were just like, oh, sorry, coach, I think I'm just not going to come to Europe. Was it weird to have to sort of make this fake cover story? And then, obviously, right afterwards, you got the players anyway, right? And people actually were kind of hating on G2 for a while.
I mean, oof. I mean, like, I was really bad at, like, interviews back then. Or, like, even making, like, PR statements or stories or whatever. And, like, I didn't really know what the fuck should I say, you know? And it was the absolute worst. It's like to make an excuse, you know. I should just be like, I'm sorry, we suck. We will try to get better, and yeah, like please keep supporting us, etc. But like I don't know. I guess I was just like taking it lightly and trying to make excuses. I don't know what I was thinking, you know, or like what I don't even know what I said right now, you know. I mean back then, and what was the original question? Like.
Well, I mean, obviously it was just a cover story, right? You already knew you were going to get the Origin bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a cover story, but I didn't want it to be a story, you know? It just came out to be like that, and then like everyone started like hating on me and on G2, and then that was the first thing, like going to 8 and MSI and like making the vacation thingy, and then there was like the thing of like getting some enmity from the fan favorite team, you know? Like Origin was like Becca has like the whole army, you know, over the whole Europe. So it was like those two things like it's a miracle that we got like all the like not all but like most of the like fans back, you know.
Sure.
So yeah.
So as you mentioned, okay, well, I was alluding to there, like obviously people were already hating on G2 for doing badly at MSI, but then also they're hating on you because you got the Origin players, you know. So I'm sure there's a lot of people wanted to see G2 fail. Does it not, like, if you get this big ego boost when you win EU LCS, you probably then, you know, because I always think of it like this, okay, it's a bit like if someone's like becomes a pro football player, you know, the problem is they're not just playing a new career and going, let's see where this goes. They've had all these dreams since they were a kid, like, right, first I want to get into a top team, and then, you know, I want to win the league, and then I hope I'll go in the Champions League, you know, and it's kind of in the dream, you know, obviously you go each level and you keep winning, hopefully, and you become one of the best players. If you've won a ULCS and it's your first try, and then you know you're getting these good you go to MSI, you don't want to just get completely trashed. And then even worse, if the whole community's like, this guy fucking sucks, he's an international choker. Does that not get to you at all?
I mean, that like for sure got at me. Like, first, I didn't really care about
your mic got lower for some reason.
Yeah. It's better now?
Yeah,
okay, so at first, I did not really care about anything that like people said about MSI. Because like, I knew inside, you know, it's like, everything is different, you know? But then like, since I actually had like some, like I'm not gonna say trolling because like I was actually just like really like bad, you know, like by like playing overconfident, over cocky, like playing really stupid. So I had like a lot of bad games. I mean, like I had a lot of very good games too back then in Summer Split, but still like I had a lot of bad games, you know. So I guess there were like people who were always, every time I would have a bad game, it's like I would get really trashed, you know, like for having a bad game.
Sure.
Because of the thing that happened with MSI, and then people were like also like accusing me of a lot of stuff on Reddit that wasn't really true. Like I don't know, there was the thing with ruling the LCS with the Skype group or something.
Yes.
Like that shit was fucking hilarious, man. But yeah, like there was just a lot of stuff that like kept coming my way. You know, like everyone was just like, I was the face of G2, so everyone could just like hate on me and G2, and there was like a lot of like. PK fans or like Carlos haters or whatever you want to call them, you know, there's like so much stuff like from every single direction that was just coming my way, and I guess it did. I mean, for sure it did affect me because like my play was like getting really like really bad at rolls like on stage, but I think it was also like back then it was mostly also like my lifestyle was very bad, so like I wasn't doing anything like outside the league. I was just playing league, like I don't know, trolling in solo queue, eating sweets, like I don't know, like it was like so bad, you know. And also at Worlds, like I was like so excited for Korea, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna play every day, 16 hours. I mean, like since I wake up, you know, I like for the first 1 week, I think I ate once a day because I just wanted to play every minute of solo queue, you know, which is of course like the worst idea ever, you know.
Did you burn yourself out?
Like for sure, like after. I realized like already like during the Korean bootcamp, like I was having like some mental breakdowns, you know, like I wanted to go home, but I didn't tell anyone, you know, like I was really like, I was homesick, you know, and I'm never homesick, you know, so there was like a lot of factors that came to my burnout, and like I just really wanted to just go home, you know, already during the bootcamp, but still like our performance as a team was not too bad in the streams, you know, and like I mean. If we didn't play so badly, like we could have actually gotten. I mean, I'm just gonna stop talking right now. This is like so pointless to even say. Okay. But yeah, my performance, at least I can talk to myself. My performance in scrims was like pretty good. But then when I got on stage, I remember there was like, just like the whole map was just fucking black. You know, I could only hear like the people like the cheers, you know, or like for the game. And like when I went to the game, like I would get like zoned out, you know. And I would just not be confident in my abilities to play, like to play how I'm supposed to play. But it was also like because I was playing a lot by instincts, like most of us were. It was mostly like that Mitty like told us all, and I guess Sven too, that like how we should like plan things out ahead, you know, and stuff. But it was like too little time. Also because in the summer split, like we spent the most of our time actually like teaching Expect English and teaching him how to like integrate with us in the team, and like teaching him about lane subs, and then lane subs got removed, and like just teaching him like about how to play the game, you know. And that was like a big setback for us, honestly. Like we could have been a lot better if we could just like focus on other like on our other problems too, you know, because like we were like mostly just focusing on expect, you know, for the majority of summer split, you know, and yeah, back to the point, like at Worlds, I just collapsed like after the first week when we played like Albus Nox. Then like I died to a jungle gank and he went like over the ward or something, like I can't believe it now, you know. And then like I went to my room and I cried in the hotel room for like 2 hours or something. Like I was shaking, like I was thinking to myself, I'm just gonna fucking retire now, you know. I'm not gonna be a pro player anymore. Like, okay, like fuck this. I mean, this is like the thoughts that were going through a 17-year-old kid, you know, that was like. That's been through a huge burnout and a mental shock and block and everything. Like there was like so many thoughts going. I remember everything clearly, you know. And then like the physio took me to I don't know, like I went with the physio to like a restaurant or somewhere, I don't know where. And like he was like calming me down and like he was like a real bro that night, you know. And then like that's like when you hit like the rock bottom, you know. Or like at least how you feel, you know, is the rock bottom. Like for me, it was just like mentally, it was like the worst thing that could happen to me, you know, because like I knew I was a lot better than that, you know, and it was like really shocking. Yeah. So that was like I guess the turning point in my brain, you know, that like I just thought to myself, well, I'm just bad, so I will just like improve and get better at everything that I'm not good at, you know.
Sure. Because here's the thing, coming into that Worlds, if we think about how the year had gone for G2, obviously, like, as I alluded to when I asked about Trick winning the MVP, like, that wasn't a clear-cut case. Most people thought you and Trick were the two best players on G2, and you were clearly very essential. Obviously, they changed some of the other players anyway, so it kind of proved that. They obviously very essential to winning the EU LCS splits, and if anyone can remember the style of play G had back then, once you got ahead, you would basically, because it was Assassins, you would just go to the side lanes, like dive, just get more and more kills, you know? And so it looked like, right, well, one thing we can rely upon in G2 is surely Perkz is going to be a star player, you know? And then that hype starts, that happens with every top European team, which is, is the EU mid laner as good as the other players in the world, you know? Because that's what people always want to know. They want to know with Verbeven and Xpeke and whoever it might have been in history, you know, how they're going to do. So if we look at the group you were in for Worlds, as a mid laner, you should be loving this group because you had Albus Nox, and I don't care what anyone says. Like, no, Albus Nox are not some super sick team that we just didn't know about. Okay, fair play, they did well at that tournament. Then you had CLG, who at the time, who he was like, actually, people used to talk mad shit on him back then, you know, because they thought he was like the worst player in the team. And then even Tigers, who, yes, were the #1 team in Korea, but like their most criticized player is Kuro. And in fact, little detail, I believe it was actually Kuro who was playing in the game that you might remember that Shie had that game, and therefore our original tweet came from about how it was actually.
I remember that. Yeah.
Well, Kuro used to play with GE Tigers.
I thought the same as you say, right? How like I thought, holy shit, this is like such a free group. Like I'm gonna carry this group alone, you know. But yeah, that was not the case in the end. So.
Okay, so what's different then about being in an EU LCS final or an EU LCS semi-final, where you've never lost, by the way, and being at Worlds or an MSI? What changes the situation mentally? Why is there not the same confidence from you?
Back then, I don't know what it was exactly. I think it was just like, mostly it was just like the burnout thingy that really got to me. You know, this is like the biggest point, I guess, because like it was like insane. Like I really like felt bad being in Korea. I felt bad screaming. I just like, it was like horrible, you know, and I just wanted to be done, you know, and go home. But I was still very excited to play like Worlds, you know, like, because like World is such an event that's like you have to make it unforgettable, you know. But I was just, yeah, it was not a good time for me. I don't know what. Like it's also probably because like back then I was probably caring about what people said about me, like because I was reading Reddit, you know, like not all the time, but I was reading Reddit, and then when I would have like a bad game, I would also read it, you know. And I would get really flamed, you know, or something, you know. So it's really true that, or at least like at the beginning, like when you're a rookie, like the bad criticism gets to you, you know. And it got to me too. And the burnout and everything, like I guess, like mix of everything is like what made me perform really bad at the tournament. And then I told myself like that is never gonna happen again, you know. Like
okay,
I told myself there is no fucking way I'm gonna cry at the Worlds again, you know. And then 1 year later, I cried at the Worlds again. But for different reasons, so it's fine.
Okay, so here's a question then. If the reason I actually weaved in the part about Twitter, right, is because Perkz in the LCS hasn't really been that person who was like flaming on Twitter and seemed super cocky. Like, here's the thing. I know people saw you when you were on like the desk when it was the EU LCS, but people have to understand that's kind of like when they do those Korean videos for the LCK final, you know, and they tell them to trash talk and they're like, oh, you know, it's all a lot of fun. They wouldn't necessarily do that if they were just cameras off, you know, talking mad shit to each other. The whole point is when you're on the desk, you're allowed to make fun and do these things, you know, so people saw you in the LCS. You were a lot more professional. You didn't flame as much. You did your banter on the desk, okay, but that's like a separate world to me. And then obviously you had the bad MSI, but okay, you come back from that. You knew behind the scenes, oh, we've got some new players coming anyway. Maybe that wasn't as bad. But after this Worlds, right, like you'd said before, like, you know, you didn't really get affected by criticism the same degree, and, you know, you knew you were a really good player, etc. But after this Worlds, this is where you were like, oh, I'm going to be taking a break from social media, and like you sort of like, oh, I'm out. And I remember there was even a time, I believe it was in 2016, where I think there was some game you lost, and didn't you actually like block Jankos on Twitter or something, or was it the other way around? Did he block you when you trash talked him or something?
I don't know. It's like something. I remember actually like something triggered, like he triggered me, and I was like, nah, just fuck this shit. Like I'm just
So who is this guy? Why is Perkz suddenly? You say you don't care about the public thing. Why are you like taking breaks from social media? Like it just all got to you. I mean, you said there you were thinking of retiring after season 6 Worlds.
I mean, that was like that's why I like said was like in my moment thoughts, you know. It was like after losing, going 0-3 in groups, and like actually like just inting the game. That was like the first thoughts I got, you know. And then,
but why would that be the thought though? Why wouldn't the thought kind of like, listen, okay, I'll just give it from my perspective. If I was in your position, right, I would first of all be like, okay, yeah, I did badly. Like I played like shit. Sure, that's all fine. But you know what? I know I'm better than this. So actually, you know what? Next year, I'm going to do way better. So I'm definitely going to keep playing because I want to get another chance, you know. And then secondly, what do I care for all these people who don't know me say I'm rubbish? I know I'm really good at the game. You didn't have that confidence to the same degree, or something? It affected you differently to be on such a big stage and have a problem?
Well, like as I said, like I'm really not sure yet. I mean, I think it's like I really think it's just a mix of everything. But yeah, it was like that after a day already, you know. Like it was just that night was like really like was like really shocking, you know. Like that was like it was just how do you say, like when you think if like out of affect, you know, you just get thoughts, you know, and you have to like rationalize yourself and like realize that like this is not true, you know. And then like I told myself, I mean, like basically I was thinking to myself like there is no fucking way that I ever like that this happens to me again, you know. And it didn't, like as a individual wise. So it was like I really can't find like the only source, because I really think it's just like a mix of all the small things that happened, you know. And right now it's a lot different, I guess. Like I don't know, like I just feel invincible, you know, right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a question I had though about this though, to get kind of a sense of it again, because when I asked about EU LCS when you won that, first of all, you know, for a lot of people they don't get to win the EU LCS sometimes ever, and then even if they do, maybe they have to go through a few teams, you know, to come right into EU LCS and go straight to the top. Not that many people have experienced that. So the reason I was asking before is I wondered, like, you know, was there more pressure? Was it different? So let me ask this then. So when you were making those comments in the past about other players when you weren't a pro player and then you come in, right? Part of the problem is if you're just watching the game on stream or you've only played on solo queue, you just imagine what a player would do as if he had no pressure. Like you're just thinking what I would do if I was in that situation, right? Is it different to be at Worlds? I mean, are you thinking back on like, oh, I've seen other players at Worlds and, you know, all the expectations and people know I should beat this. Is that all actually in your head, or can you just play?
I mean, you're talking for like back then, right? Like
for season 6.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I really just think that like it was like part of that, and also part of that was that like EU LCS teams were like really fucking bad. Like they were like horrible, and I guess it was a lot easier for us to play in LCS. Like we were like smurfing in the LCS even then, like with like I mean, we were losing some games, but we never lost a series, and we were like going really swiftly through playoffs too. Even though we had like a new top laner, you know, and like he did not even speak English back then, you know. So we were just a really bad team, if I compare us to Worlds teams, if I take like the Worlds teams, like the Worlds group, and like this is us here, like a little bit below, and in EU LCS we were like this difference, anyways, like it was like horrible that year for EU LCS, or like at least a split, and then what was I gonna say actually? Like I forgot the question again.
I mean, was there this special pressure that just doesn't exist when you're not at a Worlds? Is it different?
Back then, I guess it was because also So back then, I think like I was like looking up to Fabiven like in the year before.
Yeah.
Because he had a really good year, and like he was really like he was like how would you say respected as like one of the best millionaires in the world, like after his MSI, Summer Split, and like Worlds, because he was really good at Worlds. So people were like saying he was like, I don't know, second best, third best mid in the world or something, So I was kind of like, I wanted this, I wanted to have this career, this career like start, like joining Fnatic, winning 2 splits, like going far in Worlds, etc. This is like what I wanted, Okay. So I guess like down inside, like I really like also like felt like I don't know, let myself down or something. I don't know, or like there was like a lot of thoughts, I guess, that went through my head back then. And playing on World stage was, I guess, just like letting myself down, like and like looking like shit, or I don't know. Okay. I was maybe afraid of looking like shit. I'm really not sure. Like I was afraid of looking bad, or like I wasn't even sure what I was doing in the game. Like, how did I say it? I was scared of making any move. I don't know. It was really weird. Yeah.
Here's the thing though. Okay, here's the angle on that I'm amazed no one actually ever put forwards. Like, obviously most have read it because of all the other scenario. You'd taken the Origin players, you'd won the EU LCS. People made it sound like it was expected you should have been really, really good at this Worlds and you should be one of the best mid laners. But you were like, I think you were like 17 at the time, right?
Was it true?
It was your first ever year playing as a pro?
I don't remember that actually. I don't remember that actually. Like that I was expected to be very, very good.
Why
I don't
not?
know. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't remember like what public expected of me or something.
Well, maybe the haters thought you'd do bad because of MSI. But here's the thing, like, did you not? Was there not a part of you that just thought, well, it's my first year.
Yeah,
it's okay to fail once.
I mean,
or twice.
I didn't think that to myself because I was not very good at accepting failure, I guess. Also, and I also like. I just wanted to prove myself, It was mostly like I don't even really care about like proving myself to the like community or fans or whatever. I just want to prove myself to myself, Like I just want to, I want to like go on stage and win against this team and win against this guy and like tell myself, yeah, I'm this good, Like I played better than him, like I am better than him, Because then when you win against someone, like you are better than him, Like no matter what it says, like the score is for you 1 and for him 0, so you're better than him, So it was like really strictly like black and white, I don't want to lose and I just want to win, But yeah, it was, I guess, like hard times, I didn't think of it like that because I was like not taking things into perspective, But then like when I went home and like I started like reflecting back on the year, and like I just looked at all the things that I should improve on, and I looked at like what should I be expecting of myself, like lower down my expectations, like not have expectations, like just play with like progressing and like winning like as much as I can, obviously, But yeah, that was like back then when I was like not very experienced. Also, it was like a really big shock for me, like the whole lifestyle change, Like it was, I wasn't used to any of this. I mean, like no one was in the first year, and my first year was like really stacked, And like even though like we had some like Mitty was a world couple of times, and I guess like I wasn't coached properly, I think, for my rookie year. Like I wasn't like someone was not like leading me too much, Like I was not like getting led into the direction, Maybe that was also my fault. I mean, I don't know. I guess there was like a lot of things that could be better, for that year, of course. But yeah, it's hard to say right now, like what exactly went wrong.
Right, I have what might sound like a complicated question on this topic, though, which is this, okay? So when I mean, I'll give the example, okay? When, like, I would call them Scandinavian Wonder Boys, just 'cause I love this term, okay? So I think,
I love it too.
By the way, I include a lot of past players in that. So I think of Bjergsen that way, you know. Obviously, Caps has to be included. Because what we're talking about now is players who come from Scandinavia. They're always, like, super talented players. Usually, they're very young when they get really good. And the idea is, I mean, it's actually understandable if you know their culture, you know. They come from pretty nice families with, like, lovely parents and stuff, you know. And that's part of the reason why, when you look at their careers, I often do wonder, like, how are they going to do with their careers? Because they're clearly talented, but someone like that maybe won't be so tough, you know, as a person. You know, you never know how they're going to develop as a person, right? So when I think of these players, I can understand if one of these players might like if Bjergsen had felt homesick when he went to NA or something, or one of these players isn't so tough in the actual game, because as people, yeah, they have talent, but they haven't faced a lot of hardship, right? Whereas I actually know, and also in those cultures, right, it's you know, people are a lot more accepting of these things, and it's sort of like, oh, well, you did your best, you did a good job, we're all good, you know, right? But I actually know the region that you come from. I know from knowing Jankos and a few other players from this region that it is kind of like, it's a bit like the Eastern European mentality, you know, people think life's tough. And people are used to, like, you have to fight for everything you want to get in life. And so I know, for example, that some of the people I've known who are friends of mine from this area, like, just to give a very abstract example, they always hate players who choke. They always hate players who seem to not show up in the big game. Because to them, I mean, listen, I'll tell you what they basically tell me. They're like, oh, he's a fucking pussy. Look at him. Like, yeah, he just, you know, he collapsed like a man would have done it. You know, it's just, it's a very old way of thinking, but that's kind of the way people are. I get the sense there, right? Is it not more pressure in that sense? Like, how isn't it hard to go home and then be like, oh, hey, friends and family, yeah, I sucked at another international tournament. It must be rough, right?
I never thought about it that way, actually, because like I don't really think it's that way. Maybe it is, like, for like the older generations, you know.
Okay.
It could be because like I don't know. It's probably because, like, also, like, I grew with like a lot of brothers. You know, I have 3 brothers who are like a lot older than me. So it's like when I came home, like it was like,
oh, your mic just went out.
Yeah, yeah. I want to be successful. You know, like I want to show them that I'm winning. You know, and then it's like then they were not like really like following league or anything. You know, it's just like they knew about my results, like what I would tell them. You know, and then. I guess there is like some of the thing that comes from having to be successful or like not choking, but it's never like that I got told by someone like oh, you're a fucking choker, you know, like from someone I know or something, you know. It's like there should never be like that pressure on you, you know, even though there might be some inner pressure, but I don't think it's like the environment pressure. Like at least I don't feel like it. Maybe it depends like on areas or like families, etc. But yeah, it's not like that.
Right. So when you came back the next year, then this looked like the easiest split you ever played. You just rolled through everyone, right? In the spring split of season 7.
Yeah. That was I thought my best split. I mean, I thought my summer split was better, but I guess our summer split was like a lot more shaky. So it cannot be better. But basically, a spring split, I was really like, I had myself a goal. Like, I want to be as consistent as possible. That was like the goal I put myself like before spring split. So to be more consistent, like I have to be more reliable in terms of like being able to play every champion to the maximum ability, like every style, you know, everything. And like I guess I was really impatient back then. Like before, I was impatient about playing like perfectly mages, you know, or like playing like safe, you know, because like I wanted to make like plays and stuff, you know, like in 2016, you know, because I really like assassins, you know, like every kid does, you know, you want to make plays and outplay people,
Sure.
blah blah, you know. But then like 2017, like spring split, like I started playing like a lot of mages, and I was
I mean, obviously we can refer now to the infamous meme, right, about Rise and etc. Like Azir, the idea that people thought you could only play that's like, if you think about it, you can't blame the public entirely. If someone comes up and they have a couple of splits where they're really good, but then they sort of also fail a bit, they're sort of thinking, right, well, he just had, you know, everything was perfect from at that point in time, but when things change, that's when it'll fall down, you know. So the people probably expected it, right?
I mean, actually, like these memes, like you mean like about the memes which you make? Well, the thing is, like I guess it's somewhat true, but it's like also like like my Azir was like, oh, it was really insane. Like, but I guess you could say that I was really just like wanting to make plays with those champs too, you know. So I was putting myself in an uncomfortable position where I cannot even outplay it, but I would think that I can outplay it. You know, it's just like really, it's fucking mind blowing. You know, like I was playing really like too cockily. You know, like with the champions that you cannot maybe always play so cockily. You know, and in 2017 Spring Split, like I decided to like refine my style. You know, and like respect opponents more, like what they can do, and also like I just took it like a lot more serious, you know, because like 2016 Summer Split, like I didn't really take it very serious, and it resulted in like me having like a bad, like very bad performance in Worlds. So I just told myself like, this is like, I guess this is the point where I started to realize like this is my job, you know, like this is not some going away from home, buying myself sweets, eating in the house, playing video games, you know. That's how that's maybe how I saw the first year, you know, like not completely, but kind of, you know. But like the second year, like I started seeing it as like it's my job. Like I have to have like I have to know what I'm doing. Like I have to have a plan in mind. I have to take it more seriously. I have to take my solo queue more seriously and everything, you know. And then I just started to like do that, like follow my steps that I set for myself. And like my performance was really, really good. I think my first series versus Fnatic was like the only bad series like in the whole split, counting playoffs. And that was like I was fucking scared. Like I don't know. Like I was really scared for that series. Like I played so bad. Like it was insane, man. Like holy shit.
Okay. So obviously, even though, as you said, the world scenario has continued, even though very different circumstances, because again, you went out in the groups, the MSI story got to turn around because you went there and obviously, even though initially, yes, it looked very rocky at the beginning, and eventually you did have this great run, you went all the way to the final. Was this important, like psychologically, to actually have a big result internationally?
I mean, I actually... like I don't know, like a lot of stuff changed in my mindset. So it's like I thought to myself, like I would just go there and do my best. Like it cannot get worse than last time, anyways. Like it was really hard to get worse than last time, you know. So if we just get one, like we thought to ourselves, like if we get one more win, it's fine because we did better than last time, no. Sure. And but I was very confident that we could do very good because like as the spring split went on, like. I was starting to like push myself more. Like as I realized that I was like feeling very stable, consistent, reliable. Like I started pushing myself more, you know. Like I started pushing myself like further, like in like playing lane more aggressive. Like, I mean, I just know that like after week 6 or 7 or spring split, like I just like started playing a lot more like aggressive on lane, like getting lane advantages and like playing Sin and Orianna. Like they were like my best jumps, I guess. And they were like banned almost every single game, like for the whole like the second part of the summer split. Or like when I would get them, I would actually win with those champs like really easily. So it was like that's like when the Lane Kingdom meme started. And for MSI, I was actually this time around like I was actually sure. Like I told myself like last year I was so fucking bad. Like this year like I'm so much better. Like it's. I will just shit on everyone at MSI, you know. I was really sure of it actually when I came there, and then after screaming, like I could actually see that we had some stuff to learn as a team, but like I was really confident in my laning ability. Like I knew that I could. I mean, I didn't think we could win the tournament at the beginning because how the scrim started, like we actually improved so much in 1 week. Like even Flash was better than us. Like when we came into MSI, you know, and then we like screamed like all the teams, and like in 1 week, like we improved so much that like when we screamed Flash was, like after 1 week, like we could not lose a game to them. Like it was impossible. And did I go off the topic? Like what was the question?
No, don't worry about it. Right. Okay, I've got a question for you then. So. Life has an interesting way of sort of throwing up similar storylines. So another reason why I brought up that tweet from long ago from you to me is because in the semi-final of this tournament, you got to play against Team WE, and it's Shia, the same exact player we were talking about before. And I have to say, by the way, part of me low-key did hope you lost this series. I was going to banter you so hard on Twitter if you had, especially because obviously Spirit wasn't there. But no, when you played in this series, okay, first of all, like, we've now seen WE actually has had a couple of good results. Obviously, they went to semis at Worlds. What is Shia like actually as a player? Are you a better mid laner than him?
I mean, of course, but like back then, I actually like I watched him play, and that like I really like my honest opinion was like I really thought that he was bad. Like I screamed against him and everything, and just everything he did to me like seemed like it's like his mouse was not working properly, you know. That's how I felt. But like I came to realize that he's not as bad as I thought, and he's actually pretty good. But still, like I had absolutely like zero problems playing against him. Like I don't know. I when we played against EE, like everyone told we were gonna lose, and like I was a bit scared because like we got shit on at like in group stages. But like I was still sure like we could win the series. You know, like I was really sure inside that we could win the series. Okay. So. Yeah, I thought like Gia was like the worst mid at MSI. I mean, fifth. Like after like he was better than the Gum mid laner for sure, you know. But yeah.
Okay, high praise. Okay, right. Okay, so then when you make it to the final, okay, part of the reason why people actually were hyping WE, as you say, is because they had actually beaten SK Telecom in the group, and people thought, oh, like maybe they can do it this time, right? You guys had lost to SK Telecom obviously in the group, and then you got to the final, and you're playing a best of 5 against arguably the best team in the world. Is it hard to have confidence? Did you think to yourself, no, this is possible, we can do it?
Okay, so this is the story like from the scrims. Like first when we scrimmed SKT, like the first time we scrimmed them, like we went like 4-2 I think or something, and like I was like actually smurfing every game, and I was like really happy. I was like sweating for my life, obviously, you know, like playing so many games against Faker. Like which I always copied. Like I would always like look what he does, you know, and like implant in my style. Or if I thought something he does it better, you know, I would just take it into my style, you know. And I was like had a lot of success in the first block, and we had a success, and then like we screened him after 2 or 3 days, and we went 0-6, and like some of the games like I would get counterpicked that I would not get a fucking creep like in the first 5 minutes or something. And I was just like I was a bit shocked, you know, like the Cassiopeia thing, you know, what he did to Maple.
Yeah.
Like he did it to me in scrims, you know, and I was like, and he played Lucian in scrims, and he was like the absolute best Lucian I've ever seen in my life. So I was like a little bit shocked, you know. I thought like, holy fuck, this guy is like really good, you know. But then like every time I played against him on stage, it's like if I play the matchups that I know and I'm confident in playing, like I'm confident I will play better than him. I mean, I was confident that the matchups that I play, like when I was playing, like for example, I was playing like Syndra Orianna matchups in scrims, I was winning, you know. Or when I was playing those matchups where I was really good at, you know, I would always like win or like have the upper hand, you know. I would expect like what he can do, you know. But if I would get counterpicked by something, because he's such a good player that he can play like every champ, you know, and he like. Sure. Was always like since his career he was always doing like a lot of counter picks and stuff, you know.
Yes.
So there was like a lot of like I was just a bit afraid of getting counter picked by Faker, you know. Like I was not scared of GF or Bjergsen or someone else who was there. I don't know who was it, Maple Fizz or something. But like I was really scared of Faker Fizz. Like for example, you could blind pick Syndra against any of the teams, but not against SKT. Like if you would blind pick Syndra against SKT, like. You would not have a fun time, you know. Like it's just like it's not even like about him killing you or something, but like he will like take over the game with his pressure, you know. Like, it was just like, and also not only him, like they were just really good as a team playing around Faker, you know. Like SKT is the only team that like always like is so good playing around Faker, you know. And he's like they were just honestly they were just really really good back then, you know. Like at Spring MSI, they just 3-0'd who was it, KT in the finals. They 3-0'd Flash Wolves, like they were insanely good, you know. I don't know what happened to them, like afterwards, like the downwards trajectory. But back then they were like, it was like a whole different level, you know. Like at least like in Springs, you know, they were like a whole different level, and like so it was like going into the finals. I thought to myself that since we got like so smashed in scrims, I thought to myself like, holy shit, like there's no way we can win this game, you know, like and then like when you think to yourself that, then you're like it's all up to them, you know, like I just have to play, you know, I just have to like I have to give them a run for the money, you know, and you just play with like no fear, like no. It was like the best feeling of my life, honestly, was playing against SKT, because like the whole team, like I could feel how the whole team was like, no one was scared, you know, like no one was feeling like pressured or like feeling pressure to have to do something. Like they were just like we were making like jokes in Champions League. I remember like we were. How is it called? Like when you look at someone, like when you look at someone on TV and then you do like voiceovers, you know. And we were like looking at like at their coach, and like their players were talking to coach, and we were like doing like funny voiceovers, you know. And it was just a really good mood. And then we lost the first game, which we were winning, and then we were like, we can win this game, like we can win the series. No, we were so set on winning this fucking series, you know. Like we knew that we were good. We knew we very many mistakes. Like we knew that we learned a lot from the whole MSI, and we were like fucking set, like let's win this series, you know. We didn't win in the end, but like after winning the second game, that was like, guys, we can definitely win the series, you know. Like it was really like we were really close, you know. I mean, like we were not really close, but the games, like the first 3 games, like it could have been either way, you know. They were like really really close, and then like game 4. We went for like some different plan, but it was like they just rolled over as a game. But yeah, I don't know exactly what happened in game 4, but it was like a really fast FF. So yeah.
Since you said in these scrims for this tournament you were like super tryharding, right? Had you scrimmed SK Telecom in the past? I mean, you were at the last MSI. Obviously, you were in a different group for Season 6 Worlds. Had you already scrimmed against him in the past?
I scrimmed against SKT only 1 game actually, like an MSI last year, and I was like. Like he was playing Azir against Zed, and in the EU LCS, like I was picking Zed into Azir.
Yes.
Like I was shitting on Azir with Zed.
It's supposed to be the counter pick, right? If you can play.
It was supposed to, yeah. I mean,
yes.
That's why I thought. Like that's what Europeans are like, or like that's what I thought, you know. Yes. But then I played against Faker. I played against Faker Azir with my Zed, and he was dashing on me level 3. And like I was getting pushed under my turret, and like I was getting dived by his support and jungler, like level 3. And I was like, holy shit, man! Like maybe it's not a counter pick, you know? Like I really cannot do anything. And then, like I mean, like he ended up getting cocky, and then he started like dying a couple of times 1-1, and like we won the game. But the thing is, like the matchup was really bad for me, and that's when I learned like if you play really aggressive with Azir against Zed, like Zed cannot do anything, you know. And that's like when I came back to EU. Like I was playing these matchups in scrims, you know, and I was like destroying people. Like they could not lane against me, you know. Okay. And it's just like there's this like new level of stuff you learn when you play against this guy, you know. It's you learn how to play so much like more aggressive, you know. I guess this is like the point when I played against him like in scrims. It was like the point where I realized like I can be so much better, you know, and I can like learn to play so much better. And that's like what I was trying in Summer Split, like was to play more aggressive and like more cocky, you know. But I was just like I was doing it the wrong way. I was doing it like I was not respecting the normal thing I need to respect, you know. So it was just like a whole like learning curve, you know. But yeah, back to this MSI.
So when you were saying that, like when you talked about Faker there, even though you said you'd won some scrims and you did well in the matchups that made sense to you, right? So at the same time, you talked Faker up. You said how brilliant he is in all these ways. So in that case, people are going to wonder, in what areas could you get any edges on him? In what areas did you feel like you could be as good or better player than him in this specific sense? Can you give us some insight?
I mean, you mean like MSI, right?
Whenever.
Well, the thing is, like, I think he's like so good because I follow what he does, you know, and there's like a lot, like there's thought process behind everything he does, you know. I mean, obviously there's thought process behind like alone, like everything that everyone does, you know, or there should be at least. But what he's very good at is like he's very good at like playing to his limits with him and his team, like. That's what SKT was also very good. Like they were like sacrificing like other lane. I remember like top laner was going level 3, 4 to mid to help him to get a push out. So it's not like Faker was super insane by himself 1v1 as an individual, but they were just very good at playing with Faker, and that must be also him communicating, him telling his team what he can do or what he cannot do, and it's like just made me think like that I can do a lot more in terms of like leading my team, teaching my team how to play with me, or teaching my team how can I help them, etc. And I guess what I thought that I was better than Faker was like the matchups that I was confident in, like the laning itself. Where I thought that I was lacking was like the overall game knowledge, like game understanding, playing side lanes or like playing around vision and like just like those stuff, you know, like the deeper stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And that's like where also like he does like some tricky stuff on lane, like some tricky stuff on lane that's like really greedy, you know, like staying on lane. And he doesn't want to give up a wave. Like that's one thing I think is really stupid of him.
Sure.
Is like he's very greedy player, so sometimes it will backfire. But most of the times, like people actually like are afraid of him, or are like they think that something is happening to them, like someone is coming mid or something. But that's not the truth. Like he actually like he's so smart. Like he's so smart. He plays with their mind. Like he just like, goes into their mind and like he's like, oh, someone is coming mid now. You cannot stay here, you know, or something. And he's like low HP, you know. So it's like there's these tricks, you know, where like he does, you know, like just mind tricks, you know. That's like that makes him really good, you know. So yeah, he's just a very, very smart player. I would say that like his laning phase is not like what it used. Like, I mean, it's very hard when people get better, you know, over the years, you know. But he's not like super dominant as a laner or something, you know. He's trying, you know, but it's like what he's really good at is like this stuff, you know, like just he's really, really smart.
Right. Okay, because here's the thing. After that, obviously we had Rift Rivals. Now, here's the thing. I know so many of the top teams in Rift Rivals. If they didn't say it publicly, they definitely behind the scenes were like, we didn't really care about that tournament. You know, it wasn't that big a deal. But here's the thing, Perkz. If you've already bombed 2 international tournaments and now you've had one good one, you can't really tell me that's the case for you as well. Like, surely you wanted to do well at Rift Rivals.
No, I really did not.
You don't want to look shit.
I really did not care about Rift Rivals.
Why?
Because first of all, back then, like before Rift Rivals, like that's actually the point where we lost 3 series in LCS. That's 3 more than in the whole year. Sure. Since we started playing, and that's when we realized that like we have a problem, you know, like we actually have a problem, guys. Like we need to fix this stuff because like we were picking such shit comps. Like everyone was picking to win lane. We were like not thinking about team comps. We were playing like 0 tanks comps. Like we were just like holy shit. It was like, and everyone was like, we were kind of like I guess burnt out because we had like 0 breaks. Like we had like 3 days breaks or something in between MSI and Split, you know, and I don't know, like we didn't even practice together because like the Koreans stayed in Korea for like 2 weeks longer or something, and it was just like, and if I was like in 2 or 3 weeks after we started playing, you know, and all the teams were like praying before the split, like some teams like Fnatic were bootcamping in Korea, like any teams were bootcamping in Korea, like people were like practicing for 2 months while we were like and there was like a Rift Herald patch which completely like changed the way you should play the game, like from 10 minutes onwards. And it was like, there were so many things, there's so many small things that like we didn't figure out, you know, in time. And then for Rift Rivals, I mean, like back to the Rift Rivals overall as a point, is like, it's the middle of the split tournament. It's the best of ones. Yeah. And it's like, there's no even prize pool. So it's like so meaningless, like for players, like for motivation inside, you know, like it's just really, I don't know. It's really meaningless. It was meaningless for us. It was mostly like a wake up call though, because we realized that like it was like the point where we realized like we are gonna have a talk now. Like we talked a bit before Rift Rivals, and we talked a bit in the middle of Rift Rivals, and then we like after Rift Rivals was done, like we just straight like everything out. You know, what we have to work on, like how we have to like approach the game. Like it was like there was a point where we were actually scared. You know, like there was a point where we as a team we're actually scared, you know, like what happened, you know, like what actually happened to us from this, because I guess everyone inside of us like thought a little bit that we were gonna be like season 5 Fnatic, you know, where you come after MSI and you just shit over everyone. Yeah. Because like you learn so much more and stuff, you know. But we like took breaks and like new patch, etc. Like changed the meta, like just a lot of small things that made us not be able to like play to the level that we learned to play, you know. Okay. And that's like what Rift Rivals like awoken in us, yeah.
Okay, because obviously at this tournament, you guys lost the games against TSM, and this is another question I have, which is, Since Bjergsen doesn't play in Europe, you can only play him internationally or in scrims and boot camps, whatever the scenario is. Right, what are your thoughts on Bjergsen as a mid laner from having played him? This is like not just generally, you know.
For having played against him, but I just think he's really good. Like, he's really solid, you know. Like he's a smart player. He has good lane. Like he's like just good, you know. I don't know how to say. Like he doesn't have. I don't think he has weaknesses necessarily as a player, and I think he has like a lot of strengths, you know. Like he's just really solid. Like he does everything good, and he probably talks a lot too. He's probably very smart about the game, you know. I speak to him, so like I might have a bit of biased opinion, you know.
Okay.
Because also like he's a friend of mine, so like we talk a lot, and I just think he's very good, yeah.
Do you think well, you've made him sound really good there. Is it reasonable when people compare him to Faker?
I mean, I would not go that far. I don't think anyone is comparable to Faker. This guy has won 3 world championships and carried his team I don't know how many times. Like Faker is like on another level. I think Bjergsen is just like very solid, you know. Like he'll win you some games. He will never lose you the game. He's always doing good. I always see him do good, you know. Like I don't see him do bad. So yeah.
Okay. So obviously, one of the things I've noticed that people criticize Bjergsen for is whenever his team does badly internationally, you have a certain type of hater who they can't really say he's bad because, you know, you just look at him play, he's obviously not. But what they'll try and imply is like, but the reason why he doesn't do well internationally is because, you know, he plays in NA and then they don't have all the big EU mids. And if he was in Europe, he'd just be another good mid, you know, it'd be like you, Caps and him. And, you know, who would know who the best would be? What do you think would happen if Bjergsen played in the European LCS?
I mean, this is kind of like what ifs questions, and it's like I don't really like to think about it because I don't know, you know. It's so like it depends on so much factors. Like so much stuff about me is like how well can you play with your team, and like how well can you communicate with the jungler. And the one thing that I forgot actually that I wanted to mention was now that I was gonna mention was Sven and Bjergsen were like the best 2v2 mid jungle I ever played against. Like we played against them many times, and the way. Like
Sven, yes. Yeah, I got confused because you said Sven. Okay, yeah. Sven, yes. Okay.
Yeah, Bjergsen and Sven like are very, very good together. Like they are like always choking you out of vision. Like if they get ahead, like they will keep their lead, you know. It's like when I played against them, maybe I was worse back then, like at least on MSI, but I felt like it was the only team that like actually like played so well around their vision, like around mid, you know, just around mid. So I actually like learned how to control my lane, like my vision, like I learned how to choke my enemies completely out of vision, you know, play more with like fog, like after playing against TSM, for example. Like this is something that I think Bjergsen was very good at. Like he was very good at controlling the game, you know, from mid.
Okay.
And at least like in scrims, you know, at least that's how I felt in scrims. So maybe it's not the same for TSM on stage because they just seem to play a lot worse. Like for sure this year Worlds too, like I would think TSM would like cheat on the group. That's what I would think, judging by streams, you know. So it's just very hard to say like what happens there. Like there could be a lot of factors. Maybe they're just not as good as I thought they were. Maybe there is, I don't know, underperforming, choking, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go into that too much because I really don't know like why are they worse on stage, because I think they are worse on stage, you know. I would never think of them to like lose to Flash like that. That's impossible. Like that's not possible, you know.
Okay. So when you were in the summer split of this year, this is the one where, as you touched on, there was lots of problems. So funnily enough, this is the split that actually made people buy into the storyline that G2 is just really good in best of X series, but you know, in the actual like normal scenario, they're not that crazy. Because in the split itself, it was looking like you weren't even going to be a team who would win the regular portion, and then you get to the playoffs. Absolutely, Splice probably could have won this series. You know, it was a very tough series, and then people then see it as like, okay, right. It's almost like the Origin teams that had XPK and SOAS. You know, famously in all those years that were towards the end of XPK's career, you know, they wouldn't always be as crazy in the split. But then what would happen is, you know, they were such pros. They would kind of do the boot camp before the playoffs, and then they would get back into form. And then the idea is, you know, they're clutch performers, so they're always going to show up in a playoff series, and that's how they would always get to the finals, and then sometimes win the LCS as well. Was this something to do with how G2 was able to eventually win the split, but kind of like what looked a bit crap halfway through?
Well, I can actually explain a little bit. Like the thing with like coming clutch in playoffs or like becoming just really good is like it's mostly about the preparation. Like honestly, like so much about this game is like about knowing knowing what you can do and like preparing for enemies, like preparing what they can do, expecting what they can do. Like just the whole game is like preparing and like being already like having practiced it, like what you played, and then like performing in the stage, you know. And for playoffs, like what G2 is really really good at is like we are just all of us had very like all the time through the whole like since the beginning we had insane champion pool. Like we were playing every champs, so it was very hard to outdraft us. Like in terms of like actually like draft, you know, itself, you know. Every time we were drafting like for LCS games, it was mostly like it was so easy. It was like every playoff series, it was like besides Splice one, every single playoff series before that, like everyone was always so easy. I always knew we were gonna win because we would always end up winning draft, and draft is like it's already like 50% of the game, you know. If you have better draft, it's just up to you to execute it, you know. Like it's just as simple as that, you know. You can win the game with a worse draft, or you can lose the game with a better draft. But it's all up to like draft is very important, like how is it called?
Fundamentally.
Yeah. To like actually win the game, and that's what G2 is good at. We were good at like drafting. We were like for playoff series, we are always like we spend morning meetings talking about draft. We talk in the draft about the draft, like about champions that we want to play or ban for the series, you know, like about we want to practice like for the whole week ahead, you know. Sometimes even more, like depends how much time we have to prepare. And then like we talk about draft after the scrims, and it's like basically like before playoff series, like we actually spend talking about drafts like I don't know from 10 to 12 hours, like in a couple of days, you know. Like we just like talk every single possibility. We said what we want to do, and like we are just sure of ourselves, you know. Like we are sure with this practice we're gonna win, you know. And for Splice series, it was like there was a meta change again, like a little bit like before the playoffs, and we had this time around like we didn't have semifinals, so we couldn't see a game, like a series from someone, and we couldn't actually we could prepare as much as Splice could, you know. But we were like, this is not how we usually do it, you know, because usually we have more time and like. But against Splice, like I was a bit worried because we were not sure as a team like what we exactly like we want. Like we had some idea, you know, but then like I actually like I remember I told Mitty like if we win against Splice, like we're gonna just destroy everyone again, you know. I was sure of it because in Splice series like there was like a lot of stuff that we were not sure about, and we ended up figuring it out after the Splice series, and we ended up preparing better for the next series, and it was just like so much easier, you know. Like for us, it's just like how we operate as a team, you know. It's how we are as a players, and I guess like the Splice series kind of threw us off a little bit because it was really close. Even though, like, I don't think Splice was that good of a team. I think it was just like us being. I mean, you can always like make a double point, you know, but. Yeah, I didn't like think that they were like so insanely good. I just thought that if we were like mostly like not prepared enough for them. That's what I thought, you know.
Because of what happened at Worlds, people obviously now are going to say Misfits is super good, blah, blah, blah. Everyone always knew they were going to be good. All that bullshit that everyone loves to say after the fact, you know. But when you saw Misfits had beaten Fnatic and got to the final, surely you were happier, right? You'd rather play Misfits than Fnatic in the final.
Yeah, for sure. Like I thought to myself, like I was scared of Fnatic. I mean, not scared, but like I thought they were like a worthy opponent. You know, I thought they could give us a run for our money. You know, like I thought they could like they could be the strong opponent. You know, because like Fnatic was like whatever people think, like they were actually really good. Like they had like a lot of like I guess team problems and stuff. You know, but it's they were actually a good team. You know, like they were not as good as us. Like don't get me wrong. But they were a pretty good team, so I was a bit scared of like playing against Fnatic. But when Misfits won, like I remember like we were like watching on the couch there and we were like dancing, like we were like jumping of happiness, you know. We were like free finals again, you know. We didn't really have like high thoughts of Misfits. Like we thought that what we said before, they're just like discount G2, you know.
Yes.
Like worse players, worse macro. There's nothing for them to be done, and that's what we thought. That's just our thought process.
So at Season 7 Worlds, right, even though now, because we know the end results, we know that actually Samsung and Royal Never Give Up were two of the best teams in the tournament, at least by the end, and they obviously did both show some very impressive series. When that group got drawn, right, sure, no one wants to get a Korean team, etc., but that seemed like the Korean team you would want of the three, right? So you had to have thought when the group was drawn, we have a chance to get out here.
Well, for sure, like when the group was drawn, I thought, I really I just said I did think differently now. I think I can always win, no matter who I see, and you always have to respect any opponents you play against. That doesn't matter if it's a bad team or a good team. You should prepare for them equally, And when the group was drawn, I thought that it's a hard group, but it's definitely doable. There's of course there is a way we can get first out of the group, there is a way we can get last, we just have to put our best efforts, practice, and see what we can do, and we were pretty close to kicking a world championship out of a group, so yeah, it was a hard group, but yeah, as I said, I think I thought we could make it out for sure.
Okay, because here's the thing, there's a part of me that does think that this shouldn't really be in the same category as the Season 6 results at MSI and Worlds, because those were scenarios in which, obviously the MSI one, you should have just done much better whether you made the playoffs or not, to lose to every game to the good teams isn't acceptable. And then Season 6 Worlds, you obviously had one of the most ridiculously easy groups on paper that anyone's ever had from the West. So yes, on those ones, right, it's very different if you don't go out the group stage. But obviously, Season 7 Worlds, you really can look back and go, right, well, Samsung won the tournament and RNG was very good and could have even been in the final, So it doesn't sound as bad to lose in that scenario. But at the same time, there's also a side where I think to myself, if your team really was contending to do something at the tournament, if you really were going to have a chance at a top 4 or maybe beat a top, you still have to win some of these games against the top teams, right? You still can't be oh, well, they're very good, so it's fine to lose. So how do you weigh it up then?
I really don't. It's I don't think about it that way, because we lost, we either won or we lost. So I don't think that we had these teams in our group, so it makes our loss better, of course, it makes it look better on the paper, but the feeling is still it's kind of the same. You still lost, it still didn't make our groups even, I thought this could be the year where we can actually do something, and I still think that we were I really think that we were so fucking good at roles, and if we I'm not gonna go into ifs again because it's I really just dislike thinking about it, but I just think we were really fucking good at roles, and we could have made a lot better, but winning against RNG, wait, what was I gonna say? No, I think that's it actually. No, it's fine.
Okay. So as you referenced before, even when they won the tournament, Crown was in no way the star player. He's clearly in a tough spot in his career, and he just kind of had to do what he could to make it work in the team. But Xiaohu from RNG was actually considered one of the best mid laners in the world, and actually in LPL, perhaps the best LPL mid laner, and he was actually doing very, very well, and I think he might even have won the MVP in LPL. What was he like as a player?
Well, I think Zhao is a good player. I just don't see all the hype around him, putting him on what was top 4 or something of the 20 world's players or something. I think that's complete bullshit. And
why?
Because I don't see anything special in him. He's just a good player, It's he's not carrying his team. He's not doing bad. He's just a good player, He's from playing against these teams, I thought that Crown was a better mid laner than Zhao, And I think that Crown has had bad games, but when he played against me, he had good games. He was better than Zhao, and also as much as Crown could be criticized for his performance, he still did really well. I respect Crown, and I think Zhao, who is still, as I said, I think he's a very good player, but I don't think that he's super insane or something. And I don't see what he does that would make him so good, So yeah.
So is Bjergsen better than Xiaohu?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to judge, I guess, because
Well, I mean, a minute ago you told me Bjergsen's so good, no weaknesses, he's just so strong, you know.
Yeah,
he's got
I
Faker,
mean-
but no
I
one's
mean,
Faker.
yeah.
Suddenly you're telling me the Xiaohu guy's overrated.
No,
I don't
no,
see
but-
anything
but
special
the
in
thing
him.
is, like,
how does this
no.
all fit together?
okay, but like I just have to explain a bit more, then, because Xiaohu
Yes.
was rated the like second best mid level or something. Like he was
Yes,
rated like
yeah.
as like top 4 player, you know.
Right.
And Bjergsen was not rated so highly. I'm
He's
just
still
talking
top
about
10,
like
but
the
yeah,
like
I agree,
about
yes.
like the how people expect people to
Okay,
perform, you know.
right.
And I think that Xiaohu and Bjergsen are around the same skill. I don't know. They're just both very good, you know. Just like Xiaohu is not, I don't know, second to Faker or better than Faker or whatever people making him out to be. I don't know. I don't know what they were making out to be. I just like hear a lot of like praise going his way that he's like so
Yeah.
insanely good, but I didn't feel anything special when I was playing against him, you know. But it's also like it's as I said, like mid lane is not completely a one-on-one role. It's like
Sure, yeah.
how well can you play as a team? How can you play on your power spikes? How can you play like how well can you help your team? Like there's so much stuff that happens like, around mid laner, you know, around this one person, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe just like it's also a lot easier to judge. I mean, it's a lot harder to judge players when they're like on different levels of teams. You know, like I thought when playing against Samsung that Samsung was a 3 times better team than RNG, but RNG 2-0'd Samsung. You know, that's how I see it. You know, so for me, Crown looked a lot better than Xiaohu. You know, even though maybe if Xiaohu was put on Samsung, he would look exactly the same. You know, it's very hard to judge players at this level of the play. Like I think the way you can judge players on this level of the play is like how consistent they are, what is their champion pool, how well do they play like in best of series and stuff. You know, where Crown, I mean Xiaohu played well too. You know, but Crown played well in the first 2 series at least, you know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just very hard to judge. I think they're just all very good players, you know. And you cannot say that someone is like for sure better than him because this guy's on a better team, you know. So the guy on a better team will automatically look better than the guy on a worse team.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So as I referenced before, after season 6, we had that whole thing where, like, as I said, like you blocked Jankos because of him bantering you too hard, and then after season 6 Worlds, you were like, I must take a break from Twitter. Which, listen, people know I'm not a fan of that because, like, I actually support people who trash talk. You know, like as long as you're making a show for the fans, and you know, it's just a show of confidence. To me, it kind of shows the opposite when people like, I mean, the TSM players have done it where they're like, I have to retire from social media. It's like, that just shows that they themselves did get affected by the pressure and they are worried about what people think. So,
I mean,
has that Perkz gone? Are you confident now? Does it not matter? Do you think you've sort of gotten over that?
The reason why I did it in season 6 was for 2 reasons. Was for like, I think it's actually good to step away from social media, like from everything that you use, and just like completely ignore it and go like settle yourself down, relax, like think, you know, go back to like real life. I mean, how you want to say it, you know, like go back to living like a normal life, because this is not, I mean, like for pro players, this is not like, this is still like a change, you know, like you still have to get used to it, you know. And for me also, like I took again a break after this year, and it's like, it's just very refreshing, you know. It's very like, you don't have to like, it's just like, I think like social media is not like super good for you anyways, you know. I mean, I think it's good like if there was like information and stuff you get, you know, but it's like if you spend too much time on it without actually having a purpose, then it's useless, you know. And for me, I don't have a purpose always to spend time on social media, you know. So I just decided to take a break, because this is like when I can take a break, you know, because in off season is a time where I can allow myself to not use social media, you know, while as of in the season or like stuff, like I'm like actually obligated to use social media, you know, like I have to communicate with my fans, like throw some memes here and there, you know, like just like use it, you know. But like I think after Worlds is like the time where I can like allow myself to not use it, you know, or I actually like just force myself to not use it. Okay.
So even though in the off season, like I think you might have made some sort of like joke that, oh, maybe I'll play for an NA team or some bullshit like that, right? Obviously, any fan who sees that just doesn't understand how the Riot contract database works, because if anyone had looked in there, it says Perkz contracted until November 2018, right? So you couldn't actually have left, right, unless someone had paid a buyout or something. You weren't really leaving, you were just joking, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was maybe I posted a meme or something. I don't know. It was like, it's just like a teaser. It's like I love to tease people on Twitter, like with Peanut and stuff.
But here's the thing, okay? So obviously, yes, you have won all the splits with G2, and now you've actually had like MSI, you had a good result, etc. You've never actually had to really think about leaving, though, right? You're still under contract. You're still thinking about that scenario. So you've never been actually put in that situation, right? You're still a European player.
I mean, like, I was thinking I mean, of course, every player like has thoughts about their future and like what they want to do and stuff. And like very often, I mean, like no season, like I just think about where I see myself in the future, you know. And as I can see, like I cannot see myself on any other EU team other than G2, and I cannot see myself on any teams at least like for the next couple of years, you know, because I just prefer having a successful roster. And as much as I think NA players are not bad and NA infrastructure is really good, I still think that EU players are much more talented, and every time it shows in the end that EU players like pick up the slack, you know, or like everything, like they're just better, you know. That's still what I think, you know. So as much as people say that NA success, like you can have the same success in NA as in EU, I still don't think that is true. That's just my personal opinion. I think NA is like still like a good region to be in. Like it's like really, really solid orgs everywhere, like from number 1 to number 10. That's not the same in EU. And I don't know, there's like hot weather, good infrastructure, a lot of coaching stuff, like everything. Like there's a lot more money involved, you know, in NA than in EU. But I still think that if you want to have success, you need to play in the EU. But they may change also, you know. So yeah,
sure. As I referenced earlier, there have been a lot of really great players who didn't necessarily win LCS ever, or maybe only won it once or twice when things were going really, really well. To have won every LCS split you've played in, is that some special point of pride for you? Does it mean like, are you like the chosen one of the EU LCS?
I mean, I don't actually think about it like that. I just like go on with life. Like for me, it's kind of like normality though, because I have not experienced loss in the LCS yet. Which I will at some point, you know, like no, like how people say, no king rules forever, you know. So I'm.
Why not though? Why? Well, maybe you're going to be the Mayweather of the EU LCS, just win them all, right?
Maybe I will, you know. But as I'm saying is that like I don't know what's gonna happen, you know. So I just like take every new split as a new like journey, you know, or like every new year at least, you know. Every new year is a new journey, you know, and like let's just try to do our best, you know. And the thing like with last split, for example, is like as much as like we were like really good mentally wise, it's like still there's like so much inner pressure on you because you have the same players, like you have the lineup of us, I mean Trick, me, Zen, Mitty, expect like they expect us. They expect us to win the split again, you know, and again. And if we stayed again this year, it's like we would expect ourselves to, our org would expect ourselves, our fans, everyone in the world would expect ourselves to actually win the split again, you know, or to win the whole year. Like it's just as much as like you can make yourself not affected, it still affects you, you know. It's still like it's subconsciously there is no way ever in the world that it cannot affect you, you know. It's just it has to affect you. It's just how it is, you know. And I actually had like an interesting talk like with Peanut and Koma during MSI, like after the finals, like the after party, and I realized like how similar they think to how we think, and how similar they are because they have won so many splits in LCK, you know.
Yes. So
it's like everyone wants to see you lose, you know. Just like as much as like now we have fans and we still have haters, of course, as everyone, you know. People just want to see G2 lose, you know. So now when we actually like are not the same roster, it's not gonna be the same, you know. Even if you lose, like, or if you win, it's gonna be great. But if you lose, like, it's not gonna be the same. They're not gonna be like, oh, we have taken down this roster that has won 4 times, you know. Like no one can have this, you know. So this is like the thing I guess that we have now, like the us 5 players, or like mostly Trick and I, because like we won 4 splits. It's like we have this thing that no one can take away from us, you know. So that's the way it feels good. But in terms of like the whole looking at career, is like I just want to win an international tournament. Like I'm just gonna work so hard for it, like to win MSI or Worlds one day, like no matter what. And to do that, you have to win the split, you know, to get to MSI, for example. So yeah, sure. I'm gonna like. But the thing is, like, it's not easy. Like people think it was easy for us in G2, you know, but like people don't know like how much hard work we put, like how much stress there is, how much like inner pressure, you know, and everything. Like it's really not as easy as it seems to win every split, you know. And that's like what people maybe are not understanding completely yet for the EU LCS, you know.
But when people try to rank like great players and make like a top X list, you know, they always start with accomplishments. You know, it's like if you win championships, that's all. That's going to be the first thing that people start with before they go into like, you know, very like eye-based things of like what the guy did in a matchup or whatever. So if you've won 4 EU LCS, that already puts you in the conversation, right? People would already say, right, you could be the best EU mid laner ever, maybe the best Western mid laner. You know, this is the accomplishments already put you in that conversation. Is Perkz the best EU mid laner ever? Why not?
I mean, I don't know.
Why is that funny?
I mean, it's a funny question because I don't like usually how I think is that like I learn from everyone that I see. Like even if the players are worse than me, let's say like worse me in LCS, maybe he does something that he does better than me. Like one small thing, you know. And then when I see it, I'm like my brain automatically clicks, holy shit, this is like actually good, you know. So I will just take it, you know. And that's like the same with players who are like maybe rated better than me, like let's say Faker. Yeah. Of course, like I think like his accomplishments are beyond anyone, you know. So he will always be rated as the best in the world, you know, like the GOAT, you know, he's like the best. But and maybe at some point, maybe I am now, maybe I'm not. At some point, maybe I will be better than him in the current line, you know, in the current timeline. Maybe I'll be better than him, you know. So my like how I work is that like I just learn from everyone that I see, and then I will always think that I'm the best. Even maybe if I'm not the best, I will think that I'm the best. And so asking this question is like, I don't think that I am the best like I don't think that I am the all-time best, whatever, because my accomplishments are not there yet. I think Bjergsen has been on top for so long time that he for sure deserves his title, you know? Like he is, like if I can prove myself to, let's say, play 3-4 more years and still be on the top, maybe I will deserve the best, you know? Or it's very hard to say right now, you know? But as of right now, I think my timeline is too short to be like, and I haven't like accomplished anything internationally based. I mean, I haven't won, you know? I just need to win something. Like I really need to win something to like consider myself the best, because otherwise then like how can I consider myself the best if I have not won anything? You know?
So here's the thing. When you got Sven and Mithy, even though you'd already won LCS obviously without them, at the same time, they'd been in that very good Orange team the year before, and they'd made top 4 at Worlds, and obviously people already know Mithy's history. It was pretty storied, you know. And so during the time they were with you, they also were very highly rated at their positions, etc. So next year, since you're not playing with Sven and Mithy, this is a chance to do something different though, right? Because if you win with totally brand new players that have never been to the top of LCS, that kind of proves something more about you personally, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess, but I just don't like think about it that way, because like I just don't want to put pressure on myself or something, because it's, as I said, it's not very easy to win LCS, and especially like this year, like 2017 was a lot harder than 2016, like in terms of like how good the teams were. Like people might think that like people always say like, fuck, EU is, well, I see it, this EU is so bad, G2 wins everything because EU is bad. But 2017, like the EU teams were actually good, you know, and like Fnatic and Misfits both made our groups, you know. They both like gave a run for them for the money of enemy team, you know. And if we were like beating these teams throughout the year, maybe like EU is not so bad, you know. Like maybe it's actually really hard to be on the top. So like when I look at this year right now, I think it's for sure doable. Like the winning is doable, but it's never guaranteed. It wasn't guaranteed last year. It's not gonna be guaranteed this year again, you know. It's all about like the hard work and like who actually gets to win the series, you know, like who gets to win the playoffs. So yeah, I'm thinking about it like as a new journey, you know, but it's like I will not force myself to win the split or something, you know, because I know the last split, like I really like, I told to myself, like I really have to win this split, like this, like I have to win this split because it's gonna be like, it's our 4th split together, you know, so we have to win, you know, we have to like have this record, you know. That was like Trick and I had these thoughts, you know, like we can be the first duo to win, or like the first players to basically win 4 splits in a row in their major region, you know. Okay. So that was like something that Trick and I actually take pride of, you know. Like this is like the thing that we take pride of, like winning 4 in a row, you know. That's something that that I'm proud of.
So as you've already referenced, it's hard to judge mid lane as 1v1 because it's not that much of a 1v1 lane nowadays anyway, and obviously traditionally you have to either play with the jungler or with your team, you know, much more in the latter days. Well, as you referenced, all your championships came playing with Trick. And as we've referenced before, sometimes he won the MVP, sometimes you were perhaps better. Now there is no Trick. Now you've got Jankos over, who used to be obviously the guy you were bantering with when he was on H2K. Now, Jankos definitely has been a very good jungler, and he's had times where I would have argued I thought he was better than Trick sometimes in certain splits. But he's not necessarily always been the most mid-focused jungler. I mean, when he played with Youngbuck, even when he played with Ryu to some degree, you know, he's not really known as like the guy who just ganks mid lane all the time and him and his mid laner just take over the game, you know. So what are the thoughts on playing with Jankos in the future instead of Trick?
I mean, I think like the game is like so much more complicated now than it was before. Like, there's no like ganking mid, or there's no like, I mean, I don't even like. It's very hard to actually like gank people nowadays. You know, it's very rare that you get a gank off. You know, a successful. You know, let's say a successful gank. You know, and I think Jankos is actually like, it is kind of what you said. Like he actually does gank a lot. He ganks mid a lot. He plays around mid a lot. He is a very like pressure heavy jungler. I think he's a bit different style than Trick. And the thing that I learned over the years, like I learned how to adapt to people's playstyles. Like I'm all up for like sacrificing myself for other teammates, and then I'm all up for teaching them to sacrifice themselves for me too. And I think me and Jankos are gonna work really well together. We have a lot to work on. Like Trick and I worked a lot on everything. Like we had our down times, or like when we were like underperforming, but it's like it's all about like picking it up, you know. And every time that it mattered, like for every playoff series, like Trick was so good. Every time he played playoffs, like we were just so good together, you know. And I just felt really natural, and there was like this trust, you know. Like there is just trust that when I play with my team, you know, that we are gonna do well, you know, and that we can get out of situations, you know, in game. So that's like something that we have to build in the new team as well, and something that doesn't come easily, and it comes with time, you know. So it's gonna be like a very long journey ahead, because like I know how much work there has to be laid down for us to be a very good team. But yeah, together with Jankos, like I think we are gonna do well, and he has a lot of experience. So I think it's gonna be good.
So you said earlier when it was season 6 that you didn't feel like you were coached in a very specific way, because obviously, I mean, listen, it's understandable from Youngbuck's perspective. You were doing so well as it was. You know, you came into the split, you were doing super well, you won the LCS splits, you had the one letdown when everyone knew the lineup was going to change, right? What's your relationship been like with Youngbuck? Like, how hands-on is he? How much does he kind of decide how you play? How much input do you get?
Well, it's like Joy always had a lot of trust in me, because of like obviously like my first split, and then like after that it's just like I remember like when I was like when I just like we just screamed like G2 ordered Kinder Buenos, and then I would get a Kinder Bueno for every solo kill I got in the scrims. Like holy shit, man. that was good times. Like I was eating so much chocolate, and then like it's just like me and Joy had like good trust relationship. Like he was like I would very often like just trust him with the draft. You know, I would just tell him, Joy, I just trust you. Pick what you think is best here. Like I give him options, and there is sometimes like the thing like where I say for sure, like trust me, this is like this pick is good here, even though maybe I have not practiced it as much, maybe it just fits here, and I just like pick it on the stage, you know. And even though we may have not practiced it a lot, but I just still pick it, and he trusts me to pick it, you know. And also like for drafts, like it was I guess it was kind of easy for me to give him my input. Like I would just tell him like what matchups are good, like what I can play. But it was also like a lot easier for us to draft in EU, because like I felt like the teams, or maybe the millionaires or the teams, I don't know, were not good enough. So I could get like very often in Europe, I would sacrifice my draft, like my pick, for like second phase, or like picking like a worse matchup where I think that I could get away with it to get a better draft in the general, you know. That was maybe not the case for the latest playoffs, because like there was like some champions that were like complete meta, like Casio was like must pick, and then those champs got banned away from me from the finals, you know. So I guess like me and Joy had very good like relationship in terms of like picks and bans and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Right, at the end of the interview, do you have anyone to thank or say hello to, or some sort of final message?
Well, I would like to thank to all the fans that like supported us throughout, like since the beginning of my career. It's like I don't think that I mean, like I try to look at myself Like, and I don't think I will ever stop. Like before, I thought that maybe I could like retire at some point, but right now, like I'm loving it more and more every year. Like I try to see myself without competition, like being at home for like a month or something. But it's like I really love the part of being a competitor, you know, and competing to be the best. So yeah, I will be playing for a very long time. So just make sure to keep supporting me and G2. And yeah, thank you guys, and thank you Torin for the interview. It was a good interview, and yeah, I would like to thank to my organization also, like for giving me everything I need for success.
Vala?
Nema na čemu.
Hey, this is Travis Gafford, the double lift expert, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel.